This is turn 13 of Sunday Blitz. So that one crippled Jaguar Warrior did in fact die while moving over to Stone Heavens. And if we were to be running a Jaguar Warrior Bless, we would most likely have seen this message a lot, because Jaguar Warriors, given the low base hit points in their human form, and the fact that they are basically always going to be changing forms in battles where they take a significant amount of damage, they pile up afflictions very quickly. So if you're not running a Recuperation Bless, you're liable to see this message a lot, if you are preferentially recruiting your Jaguar Warriors. Here in the New Coast, we're able to just capture a province that did not have any province defense, so this Hell Herding just routed, so no real fight there. Here in the Troll Canyons, this was actually where we were building a fort. Apparently Helheim had seen this because there's a message now when a fort is under construction, so he tried to pop that fort under construction. Luckily for me, I had been bringing this priest over with these Eagle Warriors, so we have some province defense here, just shooting at his elves, which doesn't really do anything. Then our Eagle Warriors start jumping onto the cavalry and chopping them up, while the cavalry run over and kill the commander. So this one is actually, or this fight is actually not decided by an early rout, but instead by our Sacreds actually going head-to-head. Thanks to my even bigger Bless, we're able to get the better of him here, even if we do take some friendly fire from these archers, which are failing to hit these extremely zippy cavalry. And his army routs. So this was definitely a good fight for us, since we were able to get rid of 4 out of the Sacreds here, and while we did lose the commander here, we still have a priest who's going to be able to finish the fort. Here in this Indy province, we're going to be taking on these normally actually really difficult Indies. However, since they're not flying, they're at least not going to be able to instantly own us. And our Sacreds are able to jump onto their commanders. You can tell that these guys locked onto the flying squad because they're turning around and running back towards them. And with all their commanders dead, the Indies are routed. However, they're actually able to kill the first couple of Eagle Warriors that drop down just on account of having so many of these infantry guys. So we do lose 2 out of the Eagle Warriors, but we're able to kill all of these guys and capture the province. In Urfel, we take this province with no province defense, and here in Stone Heavens we actually have a bump with 20 militia. So this looks like it's actually from an event, because a high priest and a bunch of militia is definitely one of those events. Since we have only the one Jaguar Warrior here, he's definitely at least going to get blessed, but it's him solo against a bunch of bad guys. Sermon of Courage is going to help keep those militia at least moderately less likely to rout, but they're still not having a great chance at all. And they completely surround this guy, hit him, and make him run away. So he never even changes into his Jaguar form. And then the priest goes ahead and gets into fight for a little bit before he too runs away. That Jaguar Warrior, thanks to his quickness, is able to still kill 3 of those militia. But it looks like we're actually able to successfully get away with both of those guys. So we do have a bump that prevents us from taking the province, but we don't get to... but we at least don't lose any of our troops there. So here in Urfel, this was a province that Helheim had raided, and we take it with no losses, so that's great. This guy over here is going to be just picking up these Eagle Warriors, since 5 of our very awesome Sacreds are definitely not worth leaving alone. And then we're going to be moving these guys right over here. These guys are actually from this fort over here. Having recaptured this province with no PD, he's within range thanks to these roads to get over into here. And then we'll have 2 different groups of Sacreds. These guys are set to hold and attack closest so they can potentially intercept the cavalry, while the Eagle Warriors are set to attack rear so that they can make them rout. There's definitely the chance of us having one of those awkward, everyone's commanders are dead things, but we at least have our extra commander, and our commanders are not expensive at all. It's just these regular priests and that one Micklin priest, so we can potentially take a trade, especially given that Helheim's down to his capital. This guy over here did get diseased, so that kind of sucks. And the Jaguar Warrior is just kind of going to chill there for now. We're going to be running everyone over here, back to this province. I think just because we didn't have enough gold to build the city palisades that we wanted there anyways. These guys are going to hang out for here for now. it looks like TNG hired up a bunch of mercenaries there. Yep, that's the macemen and longbowmen to continue capturing more of Helheim's territory. We are going to be waiting until this fort finishes, and then we are going to look to invade Ternanog as well. We're also going to be having this fort finishing shortly, and this guy here, before he dies of his disease, is going to be able to build that additional infrastructure that the fort needs. Our blood hunting isn't really coming along just because we don't have any spare Mictlan priests since we're using them so much for combat, so as a result we don't have very many of those Ocelotls either. We just don't have enough slaves to summon them. So while we've got 3 over here, and we had a couple more down here, we just aren't able to be amassing them quite as quickly as we would otherwise want. That said, the Sacreds which we have been able to recruit are definitely punching well above their gold cost at least. So we're going to be just continuing to push our early game advantage from our Super Bless and try to aggressively pursue wars with the much higher scales build Ternanog. And that's the turn. So this is turn 14 of Sunday Blitz, and we have only one fight, and that's Helheim trying to raid us with this group over here. But I had expected this and reinforced the province. And with these Jaguar Warriors set to attack closest, they are able to intercept the cavalry. And they're able to chop them up pretty well. The Eagle Warriors also do their job and kill Helheim's commander, which means that all but one of the Hellherdings is killed as well. So only one of them routed. We lost one of the Jaguar Warriors from the cavalry charge, but that's definitely worth it. He was able to get between the cavalry and the priests that they were going for. Here in Mark, we have a bad event which cuts the province income in half for that turn and permanently lowers the province income. We get some unrest in here, which reduces the income by a bit as well. Drow and dragons, so the Helheim Pretender, judging by the looks of things, has claimed the throne of the Second Age, so that's a throne for themselves. It's a little interesting that they're choosing to do that while they're being assaulted on all sides, but maybe they think they can hold that province. So we have an interesting worldwide event which just increases turmoil by a little bit and magic by a bit as well, so that helps research by a bit, and is going to be reducing income for anyone that doesn't have Turmoil 3, or in my case, for provinces that don't have my Dominion. And we finish our Palisades here, so we're going to be starting to recruit Mictlan Priest every turn, and as many Jaguar Warriors as we have recruitment points for. So it looks like Ternanog finished their Palisades here at the very same time. And we are going to immediately start attacking them. So we're going to try to siege this palisade as quickly as possible, using this guy here casting Blessing on a bunch of these guys. Given that these guys are demons, they reduce the squad morale bonus by 1 by being mixed in with a squad with these guys. However, because this guy can only command 1 squad, there's actually no real penalty for this, because these guys would have -1 morale on their own anyways. Well, these guys have morale 30, so their morale doesn't really matter. And while this guy can lead only 10 regular troops, the demons count for their own thing, so they're perfectly fine. And this guy actually has the Tainted Presence perk, so he can lead additional undead and magic beings. So anyways, we're going to try to lock down this palisade in order to prevent Ternanog from getting additional mages on the border, which is why we're attacking this one first. Meanwhile, this guy over here doesn't have enough movement in order to attack directly overland, in spite of the fact that we've got a road from here to here. So he's just moving into this province, and then can attack a different province from there. This guy over here is going to be claiming the throne, because I just thought that I didn't necessarily have enough sacreds to try to hit 2 provinces, and we do want to claim this throne relatively quickly. It's also going to be providing us with a bonus for our fights over the next couple of turns, because when the Throne of Night is claimed, it basically casts the world into night, which provides a darkness to all of the fights, and my sacreds get dark vision. If I was reliant on non-sacred armies, I might want to wait a little bit before doing so, but since all of my guys are sacred, well, all of my guys that matter at any rate, this is definitely something which is actually helping me out in any upcoming fights. I'm taking over this Bakemono province with these guys because I figure that they should have no problem doing that, and then I'll also be able to attack north of Helheim's capital from here because of Helheim's cold dominion freezing these 2 river crossings. I'm reinforcing this right over here with this guy. I could potentially have tried to attack Helheim's capital here, but I'm being a little bit tepid about doing that, because I definitely don't want to lose a fight and then have him push back and start rolling through this territory right over here, because I'm going to be attacking Turnanog this turn instead. If this had been like a longer term game and there had been like, you know, more players on the map, so basically like where attacking Turnanog doesn't, by comparison, give me a bigger leg up to actually win the game, then I probably would have kept these guys routed going over this way and tried to conquer Helheim completely before moving on to another opponent. But because of the relatively small nature of the game, causing damage to each of the other players, especially another player who is a potential frontrunner and who has much better scaling thanks to the fact that they have better, well, scales, it's definitely worth actually opening up this other front now if I have the upper hand in the actual fights. So yeah, I'm basically just moving in with big blobs of sacreds over here and a much smaller blob of sacred over here, and I will be getting in towards Turnanog's cap circle. And they seem to have relatively few furbolgs, given that I don't see any in their capital. It's possible that they've been recruiting essentially only sacreds from their capital, since if I recall correctly, they have a relatively high resource cost. But either way, we're going to be, opening up that front there, and continuing to basically just protect our the gains that we've already made from Helheim, and potentially grabbing another couple provinces without focusing too much effort on trying to finish off Helheim completely. And that's the turn. This is turn 15 of Sunday Blitz. So I'd forgotten to mention this, but I actually had swapped the Construction 4 and Conjuration 2 thing. I already have Construction 4 finished, and then I'm actually going to just leave this alone and go towards Conjuration 3 naturally, because that's where we get Summon Jaguars, and this summons up just a very large number of Sacreds, and while the Jaguars themselves aren't like super strong, with our amazing Bless they're still pretty good, and they let us dump a huge number of Nature Gems and actually get a fair amount of combat power. So we have opened up with our assault on Turnanog. Here in the Mighty Pillars, this is the huge Sacred Blob, which includes Divine Blessing guy. And similar to the other fight involving the Ocelotls, we have everything set to attack rear rather than hold and attack rear, so the Ocelotls actually land first. So we can see Turnanog's Bless here now. It looks like it is definitely a rainbow, kind of thug-oriented Bless, with defense, reinvigoration, a bunch of HP stuff, Blood Surge. This combat speed Bless is from air, so I guess they just didn't think anything else was super valuable. They grabbed Shock Resistance 5, which is going to help them against the AoE from Thunderstrike, but won't necessarily protect them from like individual stuff. And then Precision is going to increase their Thunderstriking and stuff by a little bit as well. Given that they have all three of these air blesses, it looks like they've got Air 4, which kind of makes sense since that means that it opens up another booster for them. Although the fact... Oh yeah, so they've got Reinvigoration +2, so that's probably Earth 4 as well, I think. So that means that they're going to be able to make Elemental Staves as well with A4 or E4. So, like I mentioned, this is definitely a scaling build. This is probably something which would work better on a larger map, and one where they're less likely to see immediate action, just based on the fact that they have pretty good scales while still having this decent expansion Bless, but their Sacreds are not super effective in early combat on their own, and they're definitely not going to hold up to the Super Sacreds which I'm deploying. It does mean that these or more to the point, the Any Fort She-Lords are going to still be able to capture provinces on their own, just by blessing themselves, and then taking advantage of this very great defense and the additional hit points. But in major fights like this, where they're going up against the Sacreds, or my Sacreds, they're just going to get chewed up. And that's what happens here. I'm not sure why Turnanog chose to move her Sacreds into the Mighty Pillars here, since we can see that this isn't enough to fight the Sacreds which she'd already seen on our border there. And it also shows that she's actually recruiting the She-Warriors here. So these guys are much more expensive than Furbolg of similar stats. Like if you buy a Furbolg spear warrior, then or just like a Furbolg warrior holding a spear, they're going to be very similar in terms of their defense. They're going to have slightly less damage since the bronze spear is a little bit better than the stone spear, and of course they're not going to have glamour, but they're also way less expensive. Like these guys are, I think, twice as expensive, or slightly more than twice as expensive as the Furbolg servants. So that's just kind of wasting money, I guess, just for the advantage of stealth. So unless they were planning on attacking me and wanted to hide the fact that they had an army there, that's definitely just wasteful. If they'd been moving them up just in order to defend the border, like if they'd been expecting an attack, then the Furbolg definitely would have worked just as well, given that they just moved into the province with a defensive move. Here in Panya, we're also able to take a province with our little sacred stack. And this one has only a little bit of province defense, and it of course gets killed very quickly. So I think those Furbolg there had actually just been retreated into this province from Turnanog's starting army. But yeah, just to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so they have one less strength, but the same weapon, the bronze spear. They have the same attack and defense, even the same hit point. So it's basically just paying 12 gold for glamour and stealth, which usually isn't worth it. Here in Dothian, this is Turnanog's fort, and it looks like they definitely didn't patrol with anything, so we're able to take over the province no trouble. And then in the underworld, we're taking on the Bakemono in the dark. Since we claimed the Throne of Night, my Sacreds do actually have dark vision, so they have only a -1 penalty from the darkness, and even the Bakemono themselves have that same -1. Interestingly, they also have a Ko-Oni here, who has full dark vision, and the Bakemono Shaman is actually a mage who even has an item, the Knife of the Damned. However, my Flying Sacreds have no problem just murking him. They also instantly pop the Ko-Oni and put it into its Oni spirit form. And with the one commander gone, everyone is routing. So that's an easy enough fight. Interestingly, we actually get that item. We lose one of the Eagle Warriors who just got in the way of their retreating Bakemono shows, who were eventually able to just, I guess, land a lucky hit with their Yaris. So now this priest has this knife which he can't get rid of and which curses him. So that kind of sucks, since he's not going to be using that in melee combat at all. On the plus side, if he does get killed, he passes over that cursed item to someone else, and unless they're also a melee fighter, they're also taking the disadvantage. Here in Erisea, we get a nice event, which just gives us a smattering of gems. In the Black Marshes, we caught a frog and are keeping it as a pet, so that's great. The fact that we're destroying the gate with this very small force means that Tirnanog has not built up any significant force right in there. And we lose the guy in here to his disease, but he did manage to build the temple before going, and so the Nahuali is able to build the lab, and then she'll be able to fly away, I guess. Yeah, because these guys can turn into turkeys and then fly around while doing site searching. We actually have a nature random Nahuali here who's going to be just searching up these forests to try to find additional nature gems for us, now that we can turn those nature gems into jaguars, or we will soon at least. And then of course we also need those nature gems just in order to do wolves to patrol for our blood hunters. So thanks to these roads here, we can attack from here all the way to this province, so we're going to be doing that. We're going to be basically just bringing over a bunch of these jaguar warriors and a priest to bless them. From here, we're attacking into here with a divine blessing, High Priest of the Sun, and then we're attacking into here as well with the same thing, just leading a bunch of Eagle Warriors. From our capital, now that it's no longer hostile territory, we can move directly into here, so we can bring in reinforcements in the form of this guy carrying a bunch of Eagle Warriors. So we're basically just going to be attacking into Tirnanog as quickly as we can, just to take away their provinces, get more provinces for ourselves, and then we're also going to be reinforcing the group which we have on this siege. It's also worth noting that Turnanog's basic A2 mages are assassins, so we're going to be putting these guys on guard commander. Because these guys are flyers, and because Turnanog has spell singing, my hope is that they're going to be able to jump on the Baubanshi assassins. I, again, don't really know how to pronounce all the Irish names. But anyways, that's the plan right there. So the hope is, yeah, that they're going to be able to jump on the Air Mage Assassins before they can get off any spells. If this was being played on Dominions 4, then they would always be able to do that just because the assassin victim is the defender in the battle, and therefore they go first. Whereas here, I'm basically just relying on the fact that spellcasting takes some time, just in order to hope that the flyers can get there quickly enough. So given that they've got a commander here, it definitely looks like they're forting up this throne. So if I were in Turnanog's shoes, I would probably try to protect the fort under construction, and that's definitely something that most players will be doing as well. So I expect, while I can't see the elves that they've got in their capital here, that they're going to be moving over in order to try to defend this, because this group of sacreds could potentially attack it. And so I'm not going to do that, and instead I'm going to attack into here. Given the fact that this was Helheim's province last turn, we also know that Turnanog had a party in here, so I'm not sure if they're going to try to continue attacking Helheim with that, or if they're going to be moving over into here. But either way, I'm definitely going to be attacking into here. Given that we were able to successfully beat up the forces which Turnanog moved into this province, I expect that whatever they're raiding Helheim with would also lose to this army, because they would need like a simply huge stack of sacreds and stuff in order to actually beat these guys, given that this is just a ton of flying super blessed sacred guys. And it looks like Turnanog captured this as well, so yeah, definitely making headway into Helheim. I assume that they actually own pretty much all this territory right in here. So definitely worth attacking them. They are definitely quite big. This connection right over here is thawed, thanks to the fact that it is early summer, and that breaks this connection right in here. So Helheim has an Earth Reader, which is a mage that is a national mage from Agartha, but which can show up for an event if the Earthblood seepage is nearby. So I expect that that's what's going on over there. I could attack into Helheim's capital circle over here. I'm not sure why I chose not to. I guess I just thought this province would be worthwhile for some reason. Or maybe I thought I could just hold it more easily. Whatever the reason, I didn't attack into Helheim over here to take this province, and instead just took this one from the barbarians. But yeah, definitely attacking a ton of Turnanog's provinces this turn, which has the disadvantage of the fact that because I'm using these mage priests as my leaders, I don't have a ton of mages chilling at home. And that's definitely reducing both my research and my blood income, which is of course reducing the number of ocelotls that I'm getting. But again, given that this is a relatively small game and I'm focused heavily on this early game Bless build, it's potentially just more worthwhile to be doing this very strong Bless push while relying on my Pretender to help at least help make up for my dearth of research. I'm also getting up, since I am getting up a couple additional forts, I can also at least partially make up for that with additional mage recruitment. And yeah, that's the turn.